This is the You, Me, and BTC podcast.
Cryptocurrency decrypted.
Welcome to episode 41. In today's shorter show, we'll begin by sharing a bit about the world's first blockchain wedding. Just last weekend, two lovers permanently embedded their commitment to each other inside of a Bitcoin transaction. Then later in the show, we'll chat about some legal troubles recently encountered by Butterfly Labs. The company, which produces Bitcoin mining hardware, made many customers upset with painfully long product delivery times. Now, some of those mining speculators have gotten the government involved. Stay tuned for our thoughts on all that and much more. Your hosts are Tim Baker, John Stuart, and myself, Daniel Brown. Here we go. Hey everybody, welcome to the show today. This is the You, Me, and BTC podcast. This will be episode 41, I believe. Today is Monday the 6th of October. And you guys will be hearing this just a few days on Thursday. Thanks for joining us. I am Daniel Brown, and I'm here with Tim Baker.
Hello, everybody.
And John Stuart.
Hey.
So we got a couple interesting things for you today. One pretty big piece of history that we're going to start with is a wedding that actually took place on the blockchain just yesterday morning. It was Sunday morning, the 5th. That's pretty cool. I mean, we'll read about what it was and how it all worked and everything, but the idea that somebody would get married on the blockchain, I think that's pretty crazy. So, actually, I guess we'll just let Tim take it away here. Go for it.
Okay. I guess we were planning on talking about this during the live show a few days ago, but it just happened yesterday on October 5th. I'm reading an article from Bitcoin Magazine. It's called The First Blockchain Wedding by Ruben Alexander. In a step to decentralize the state's authority to give a stamp of approval on love, David and Joyce Mondros have gotten married on the blockchain. How did David get married on the blockchain? Those who attended the wedding were shown a QR code that linked to the transaction where the data associated with the wedding was stored. Any Bitcoin transaction can store information. In David's case, he stored information related to his wedding, which I am actively looking into. Jeffrey Tucker officiated, he would probably say unofficiated, the wedding ceremony, which had a few attendees watching via Skype, including David's mother. Jeffrey said something which made everyone in the room teary-eyed. Love is the one thing that makes you create something that hasn't existed. Yeah, this is pretty interesting, putting the idea of marriage into something and just using the blockchain instead of the government legal stuff to really prove that a marriage happened, because that's really what you're stuck with, is if you tell people why is the government involved in marriage, because really you think about it, it's kind of a stupid idea that, well, we're in love, so let's get a big corporate system to get involved.
Yeah, and so let's sign a bunch of papers.
Yeah, the Bitcoin blockchain kind of helps with that. This reminded me of a quote from a joke from Doug Stanhope, which is a libertarian kind of leaning comic. If marriage didn't exist, would you invent it? Would you go, baby, this shit we got together, it's so good, we gotta get the government in on this shit. We just can't share this commitment between us. We need judges and lawyers involved in this shit. Baby, it's hot. Like that. So, that's kind of my feeling on it, is that, and this always comes up with me talking to people about the whole gay marriage issue. It's like, no, I don't really care if, I would rather the gay marriage, like the people who are for that, be like, why do we need a marriage license at all? Don't be like, well, no, we have the same rights as everybody else. I'm like, you're being like, no, we must ask rights to get married from our overlords or something like that. Just say, I can get married, you can get married. We don't need a legal document to say we got married.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I find myself saying to people quite a bit is, well, no, I don't think gay marriage should be legal, because I don't think regular marriage should be legal either. I don't think there should be anything legal about it. So.
You heard it here first. Daniel Brown is against marriage in all shape and form. Yeah, I mean, people always say, well, what about inheritance, or what about when they get divorced? Well, I mean, this, you can put all that information into a blockchain thing and not get all the judges and everything involved. And that solves that problem.
Yeah, there's a couple pictures here. It's pretty cool. I guess it probably said in the article that they sort of executed the marriage with the ATM. And so the wedding cake, it's like shaped like an ATM, and it has a heart on the screen, and it says Joyce and David and stuff. So that's kind of funny. And it is real cake too, yeah. Looks like chocolate. So, with orange icing for...
Dan, do you approve of this wedding cake, Daniel?
As long as it's delicious and moist, then I'd probably approve.
There you go, Joyce and David. Daniel approves of your marriage.
And then I guess I also heard that Jeffrey Tucker cried a little bit during the wedding, so...
I said it made everyone teary-eyed when he said that love is the one thing that makes you create something that hasn't existed.
Yeah. I also remember on Twitter, Tucker posted that he was posting about officiating the wedding, and he's like, there was no power invested in me, thank goodness.
Thank you for picking a story that now makes me feel sad, Daniel.
What? Why does that make you feel sad, Tim?
Nobody loves me.
Well, if there's any Bitcoin females out there who think Tim's voice sounds attractive.
Oh, yes, this, like, cracking thing. It sounds like I'm 12. I'm going through puberty right now. I'm like, hi, guys, how are you?
Hey, with the way technology is going, maybe just your voices could get married, and she would never have to see you.
That would work.
You
I
never
could
know.
deal with that kind of relationship.
Anyway.
As long as someone doesn't actually have to see me.
Any other thoughts before we go to some weird Butterfly Lab stuff?
Well, first, can I say my thing?
I don't know what your thing is, but go for it.
Apparently, SuicideGirls.com is now taking Bitcoin for membership stuff. Suicide Girls, like alternative models, adult alternative models, I guess is what they're considered, but they're taking Bitcoin now. Their banner says, spend your Bitcoins while they still have value. So it sounds like they're not too optimistic about the price, but you can sign up for a year there, and I don't know, it's just another group taking Bitcoin.
So wait, what is it again? A modeling agency?
You've never heard of Suicide Girls before?
No.
It's, as far as I can tell, it's kind of like the alternative versus like the really skinny, blonde stereotype for like a beautiful woman. It's like a lot of them have like dark hair, they have tattoos.
What do they sell then? Do they sell pictures or magazines?
It's
or
probably
what?
something like that.
Okay.
It might be a magazine. I'm not sure.
Cool. Yeah, I guess that's another place. And yeah, you were just joking about how some people think Bitcoin's not going to go anywhere. And yeah, it is worth mentioning that the price is way down right now. And I heard somebody saying that...
What's up from yesterday, but...
Well, yeah, that's true. But in general, it's...
Yeah.
You know, there's been a bit of a crash. And I heard somebody saying that... I think he said, like, I don't see Bitcoin taking off again anytime soon. And... I don't know, it's like, who cares? Like, we always say that's not really what we're super concerned about. And, yeah, maybe it won't be soon. So maybe I, in a way, still agree with this guy, but I don't know, just with his negative opinion, I probably wouldn't really agree at all. It's just like, well, we'll get going, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we'll see. It may go back up or it may go to zero, but really, it doesn't really matter. Because worrying about it isn't going to help. I don't know. I'm rambling now.
Well, that's still true, though. I mean, yeah, it's worrying about it doesn't really change anything, so... Although, I guess if you worried about it so much that you decided to sell them all, and then the price crashed, maybe that would help, so...
Yeah, maybe if I had worried about it when it was $1,200, sold them all now, and bought them all back now, I'd be happier right now.
It could happen. It could happen. You're listening to the You, Me, and BTC podcast. We need your help. First of all, we'd love it if you could check out our website, youmeandbtc.com. There you can find donation addresses for every single article and episode, and we'd love it if you could make use of those. We could also use some fans and followers, so if you're willing, please visit Facebook or Twitter.com/youmeandbtc. Lastly, remember to subscribe to the show. You can do that on iTunes or sign up on our website to receive email updates. Thanks for your support. Alright, so there's another pretty interesting story that we definitely have some kind of connection to, because we have had a Butterfly Labs miner.
I have it in my SUV right now. We still need to burn it.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's on our to-do list. And I think at least one or two people have come on the show and their personal stories have been about Butterfly Labs too. So that's kind of interesting. And if anyone wants to hear our story, it was actually episode 1, I believe, about our miner's story and how long it took to get it and how much money we made off of it and stuff like that. But most people probably know this already, but in case you don't, the 2-second version is that Butterfly Labs sold a whole bunch of pre-orders and they took forever to deliver. That's about it. Forever as in, well, at least I think probably 6 or 8 months for us, probably more for other people. So anyway, so because of all that, the headline here, this is from coinfire.cf. The headline here is Official FTC Complaint Against Butterfly Labs Obtained, which I think it's kind of funny because, I mean, I'm not going to say that they necessarily were malicious or they necessarily were scamming people or anything like that.
Necessarily.
Yeah, well, I think it's unlikely.
No, I know.
But either way, they definitely made mistakes and they definitely caused some problems for people, so. But I don't know, like, there's also some question as to whether the customers should have assumed that risk, and I guess we'll get to that in a second. Let me just read at least a little bit of this. The FTC's complaint against the company and its corporate officers alleges that Butterfly Labs charged consumers thousands of dollars for its Bitcoin computers, but then failed to provide the computers until they were practically useless, or, in many cases, did not provide the computers at all. A company representative said that the passage of time rendered some of their machines as effective as a room heater. The FTC charged that this cost the consumers potentially large sums of money on top of the amount they had paid to purchase the computers, due to the nature of how Bitcoins are made available to the public. Now, at face value, all of this is definitely true. The people really did wait a long time to get their Bitcoin computers, as they call them. And yeah, the mining difficulty certainly went up in that time, and the profitability for these people definitely would have gone down in that time. So, factually, this is pretty much right. My question would be, do you think the consumers knew that, though? I guess, did Butterfly Labs misrepresent their product? Or did they make it clear enough to their customers that this was pretty risky, and did they disclose all their information and stuff like that? Any thoughts on that, guys?
I mean, I think that's kind of a risk you take as long as you're involved in Bitcoin, that the difficulty is going to go up. And so if you're doing any kind of a pre-order, now I don't know about legal. I have no idea what legally, when people say like a pre-order, if it has to be out on that date.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I mean, I would guess that their pre-order date was not something like, it is definitely going to be out now. It was more like, this is a general idea when it's going to be out, so.
Right. Well, another thing that I'm not really sure how the actual laws apply to this is the company even responsible for informing the customer about anything? Like, other than just, this is my product and this is what it does, and if they say this is when we're planning to have it ready, but if they also make it clear that this is a pre-order and it may or may not be ready at that time, if they say all of that, how could Butterfly Labs be responsible for somebody who didn't really know how Bitcoin worked and didn't know that the difficulty was going to go up? Would they be legally responsible for that in any way? I don't know the answer to that. But also, I guess morally, that's a question too. Do you think they would be morally responsible in any way.
I have a problem just with the fact that people are trying to sue them over this. They're making it like a centralized issue. And I think it's kind of stupid because, like, you've talked about this before. People on the channel, on the OTC channel, and like on Bitcoin forums, it seems like everybody is super paranoid about scams.
Yeah.
And on there are people who are doing actual scams. Like, at least Butterfly Labs is sending people these things. Like, they're probably not making as much money as they would be doing if they were trying to make an actual scam. Like, if they were actually scamming people, why just not send them the machines? And so, like, why do people think, like...
Well, they did say, just to clarify real quick, there were some people that claimed that the computers were never delivered. I don't think that's likely, and if that did happen, I think that Butterfly Labs is probably still working to deliver them, so...
Yeah, but I guess my point is, like, on the forums or the channel, you wouldn't see anybody, like, babying people who got scammed. They'd be like, well, it's your own fault.
Right.
But for some reason with this, because it's, like, a quote-unquote legitimate company, people are getting all up in arms about it, and I think it's just like, why is this different than anything else?
Yeah, and that's actually another thing. It might have even been in episode 1, but I know we've also talked about it a couple times since then. We were saying how it should make sense for there to be private companies like the FTC who, like, handle complaints and rate companies, and to the extent that they can do so without force, they will, I guess basically they would just be able to publish what is good or bad about companies and stuff like that. The problem is that the FTC is federal and they're funded in all kinds of bad ways. So even though the idea behind the FTC might be good to say, hey, if a company does something stupid, let us know and we'll let the people know. Well, that doesn't necessarily work right with a federal thing.
I mean, it's also different because they're not just a rating thing. Like, they shut down Butterfly
Well, exactly.
Labs.
That's true, too. They have the ability to, like, fine them, or I think their assets were frozen as well, which caused some problems for them. So
I was just going to say this isn't entirely related to John's thing because it's not talking about people on the channel, but, like, I'll notice, like, back when I was having to shop for, like, my grandmother or something while I was taking care of my grandfather, if I went out and shop or if I took her someplace, the amount that she would complain if a store didn't have what she wanted or if a store didn't just, like, right away have something was incredible. But the leeway that people give whenever something is a set-up system, maybe I'm completely off on what John was saying, but, like, I'm taking this back to the government thing, but it's like if people complained or expected half as much out of the government as they do out of their local shopping center, it's like, well, I got the wrong ad and it says that I should get half off of these whatever this week. And they're like, well, ma'am, that was last week. And she's like, why did you deliver it late? I'm like, the government lies to you all the time. Why are you getting angry about this and you don't give a fuck about what they do?
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think complaining is actually in the long run helpful. I think if a company at all cares about their customers, as soon as people are complaining, they'll try to do something about it. The problem is that people have a double standard with who they complain about.
Yeah. I mean, whenever I went, we were at GFS or something like that, and they were saying, oh, we're sorry, ma'am, but you just got the wrong article. And she was obviously in the wrong, and then she's like, oh, why do you guys do this? And so I'm like, this isn't their fault. This is your fault. But she didn't really want to hear any of it, and they were just like, no, we'll try to fix it. And
yeah, it definitely is pretty crazy. People want to make stores accountable for everything, but they don't make the government accountable for much at all. So I want to read a little bit from another article, same website, might have even been the same day. This is September 23rd. And the headline here is Butterfly Labs responds to FTC complaint. So pretty much 90% of this is just a quote from Butterfly Labs. So I'll just read a little bit of it. Butterfly Labs is disappointed in the heavy-handed actions of the Federal Trade Commission. In a rush to judgment, the FTC has acted as judge, jury, and executioner, contrary to our intended system of governmental checks and balances. The FTC's current actions are negatively impacting our thousands of customers and our dozens of employees. Their current media campaign should only further alarm a knowing citizenry and raise questions as to why the FTC wouldn't simply let this case play out through the judicial system. This is what Butterfly Labs intends to do. It appears the FTC has decided to go to war on Bitcoin overall and is starting with Butterfly Labs. Butterfly Labs is being portrayed by the FTC as a bogus and fake company. To the contrary, Butterfly Labs is very real. As pointed out in court filings Butterfly Labs made last night, Butterfly Labs has shipped more than $33 million in products to customers and voluntarily granted refunds approximating to $17 million to customers for canceled orders. Butterfly Labs was literally in the midst of shipping out completed products to fulfill the remaining millions of dollars of orders on our books and issuing requested refunds when the FTC effectively closed the doors of Butterfly Labs without any chance to be heard in court. Now that is really interesting, and that's, I guess what you were saying, John, is how the FTC has the ability to shut them down, and one of the actions they took was to freeze their funds. And that, of course, causes problems. If they are in the midst of shipping products and their funds get frozen, how are they going to continue working? How are they going to continue producing and shipping products? How are they going to issue refunds? So, as much as I believe that Butterfly Labs made a mistake, it definitely has not helped for the FTC to freeze their funds, because they were literally in the midst of shipping stuff and issuing refunds, and now they can't do any of that anymore. So
yeah, I mean, and that plays into exactly what I was saying before about how, like, I don't think this was a scam, because if it was a scam, it's a really bad one.
Right.
Like, I think it's just a poorly run company.
Definitely.
And, like, I don't think poorly run companies should be, like, molested like this by, I don't know. Like, if you're a poorly run company, you don't need to punish them. They're going to get punished by the market.
Right, exactly. By a private trade commission or something like that.
Well, we don't even need that. It's just like, you just have to go on any forum
to
see how much people hate Butterfly Labs.
That is definitely true, yeah. And we say that on the show quite a bit too, and like I said, we've had some personal stories about that too, so that's, I definitely understand that. Another interesting thing from this response, they say a couple times that they think that the FTC is going to war against Bitcoin, and they're starting with Butterfly Labs. Do you think that they're actually trying to mess with Bitcoin itself, or is the FTC just trying to, shut down Butterfly Labs because they made some mistakes? Do you think they actually have some intent to hurt Bitcoin in general?
I don't know about in general, but I could definitely see them going after them specifically because they're related to Bitcoin.
I wouldn't see this as much as going after Bitcoin as much as they're just trying to, like, I could see maybe they're just trying to get involved with it so that, like, in the future they can be like, oh, well, look at all these things that we did. Like, we have a right to do stuff because we've been involved with Bitcoin or whatever. I don't know, like, I guess kind of like an underhanded way of making people who are into Bitcoin be, like, okay with the government intervening with it. Do either of you have any clue what I'm trying to say?
I think so. Can you try again?
Okay, so we know that the government wants to be able to regulate Bitcoin, and I feel like this is, like, they're trying to, I guess, throw some people who are into Bitcoin a bone by doing this, so that it makes them getting involved with Bitcoin seem more legitimate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying
if
the government can point out bad things in the Bitcoin space, then the people might be okay with Bitcoin regulation?
Yeah, and, like, this is one of the only things I could think about where, like, them getting involved won't piss off everybody. Like, we've obviously all said that we're not in favor of this, but I'm sure, like, the Bitcoin community in general, it could be pretty divided over something like this. Like, I don't think this is something where they're going to be freaking out.
Right.
Because, I don't know, I guess most people don't care about Butterfly Labs very much.
Yeah.
So they're not going to defend letting the free market play out in this scenario versus other ones where the government might try to get involved in.
Right, and it's interesting because I could even see how even people like myself, when I first read this article, I kind of thought it was hilarious, and in a way I thought Butterfly Labs deserved it, but I mean, hopefully I've made it clear in this episode that even though in a way they do deserve it, I don't believe the FTC is right, and I don't think they're doing the right thing and stuff like that. But you're right, John. The government could pull up companies like Butterfly Labs, and a bunch of people who usually would be against any sort of government regulation might be like, haha, that's right, you go get them. Destroy Butterfly Labs or something like that.
Yeah, it's like kind of sneaky because I didn't have the gut reaction to this that I've had with some other things. Like, I don't know, like Charlie Shrem or something like that, where it seems like nobody's been like, oh, well, he deserved that.
Right. Definitely.
This is just kind of, yeah, just sneaky, I guess, or something.
Yeah, there are a couple other little updates, again, from the same website that I just want to hit on. One of them is from the 29th of September, which is about a week after those earlier articles. It says, in a strange twist of events, the general manager of Butterfly Labs is claiming that due to personal asset freezes by the court order from the FTC, she is now unable to even buy groceries. So, again, that's kind of funny, but that sucks, right? The FTC is able to freeze her personal funds just because her company, had bad hardware engineers or something like that. I don't know. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I mean, when you start not being able to buy food, that gets a little bit more serious. Wait, why can't she? Is she just saying she doesn't have enough money?
No, she has the money, but her money's frozen.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then I think the last update we have is from October 2nd, and it says Butterfly Labs resuming operations tomorrow. That would be October 3rd. So I guess I'll just read the statement that it says they gave to CoinFire. It says, although Butterfly Labs is still disturbed with the Federal Trade Commission's rush to judgment and labeling of the company as bogus and scammers, Butterfly Labs is pleased by the court's entry of a stipulated interim order, which allows the company to reopen its doors for limited operations. That's actually kind of weird. I guess it seems like then they're letting them continue, but under certain stipulations, I guess, which kind of sucks. But maybe there's just more trial to do or whatever. It says, while the order does not allow Butterfly Labs to fully serve our customers as desired, it is a step in the right direction and will allow for limited order fulfillment. During the period of the court's order, Butterfly Labs will continue to cooperate closely with the court-appointed temporary receiver. So, at least they'll get started a little bit. Kind of sucks that they're still under whatever regulations or whatever. And I guess the moral of the story here would be, if you want to get back at a bad company, don't buy from them and tell other people not to buy from them, right? And don't get the government involved. Do you guys think that makes sense?
Yeah. Yeah, just tell other people not to buy from them, tell them that they're slow and everything like that. So.
Right. And a lot of people have been doing that, but there might have been a couple people that still ended up buying from Butterfly Labs, and at that point I would say, well, that's your mistake. If you heard all these people complaining about them and you still bought from them, don't blame Butterfly Labs. Blame yourself.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to episode 41. All of the music in today's show was from John Stuart. We'll see you next Thursday.
And I think we just lost Daniel. This is not the show to do this to me. Ooh. On for tonight. On for tonight. Night. On to the night. I'm gonna swing from the chandelier, from the chandelier. I'm gonna swing like tomorrow doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. I'm gonna sleep. I burn through the night. All around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out places. On the daily faces, going nowhere, going nowhere. I'm gonna swing from the chandelier, from the chandelier, on for tonight. Turn on for tonight. We're on for tonight. On for tonight. I'm gonna swing from the chandelier, from the chandelier. I find it kinda funny, I find it kinda sad. The days I'm with some dying are the best I've ever had. Every child should know tomorrow, know tomorrow.